and welcome back to another episode on Bonds Talk with Callanthea. So, on today's episode, I'm going to be discussing creating a work-life balance. And this is such an important topic, and it's one that lots of people are aware of and are becoming more aware of it. Especially, there's so many videos on YouTube as well discussing this topic, and I think it's really incredible. And I thought I'd start us off with a quote from Dolly Parton. And she said, "Never get so busy making a living that you forget to make a life." That just seems to sum up a work life balance perfectly. And what I'm going to discuss today is just kind of what does a work life balance really mean? What are some of those kind of common examples? Because we are all different. And then I'm going to share some of my experiences with you. And maybe you'll be able to relate to some of my experiences, based on what it was like in different kind of jobs and how it impacted my sort of personal life as well. And then I'm going to kind of leave you with some kind of reflection questions. I really want you to think about what a work life balance really does mean to you. So, we know that people generally go to work to be able to earn money, okay? And that is our number one motivation, right? For the majority of people, it's the number one motivation because we live in a capitalist society and we genuinely need money to survive and sustain ourselves. So, money is always the kind of one of the main motivators, really, when we are going to work. But I think what tends to happen is we kind of limit ourselves in going into kind of any kind of job just to make sure that we're getting that money, and it's not always a job that's right for us. But of course, it can be a lot more complicated than that, depending on all of our individual circumstances. Um, and I was thinking, if you actually do something that you love, so you love going into work, you love absolutely every moment of it, you can't wait to get out of bed for to go into work, then naturally speaking, you're probably going to have more balance in your life anyway because you're already enjoying your life. And I think that that is really important. Work life balance doesn't mean to say you have to work hardly any hours and just mong about on the sofa. A work life balance is a lot more than that, and it's what really matters to you. So, if you are really enjoying working, then maybe that's part of your balance, right? Because it gives you joy, it gives you a sense of reward and fulfillment. So I don't want to shame anybody who wants to work and really enjoys their job. I think it's incredible if you can have a job that makes you want to get up on a morning and go to it. But unfortunately, that's not the case for everyone. And I think, typically speaking, I think what tends to happen, most people end up in a job that they either dislike or that they're okay with, but it's not really doing much for them. And again, it's just a means to an end. It's just a way to earn some money, put some food on the table, pay your bills, and keep a roof above your head. And I think again, if you are in a job that's like that, then over the long term, you're not going to be happy, you're not going to be fulfilled because you are probably working a full time job in a job that you either just think is okay or you don't really like it that much. Um, and that's a massive shame because it's such a huge chunk of our lives. And I think this is why everyone, or not everyone, but lots of people now are starting to think about what a work life balance really is and why it's important. So, if you are in one of those kind of jobs that's meh, or maybe it's, not very good, then you need to do more in your personal life. You need to try and have more of a balance to counteract those sort of mundane feelings. Um, and if you can do that, then you're going to start to feel a little bit happier in your life. And again, what you would like to do might be different to what I like to do, right? We are all different, but I think we do need to take ownership of the fact that we do have two types of lives running alongside each other, our working life and our personal life. And if you can find harmony and more enjoyment and more fulfillment, then naturally you're going to be happier. So it makes complete sense. But then I was thinking as well that there are those people that absolutely detest their job, right? They absolutely hate it and moan about it constantly. Well, it is a massive part of your life. So really think, is that a job that you want have to go into? And if you hate it that much, you're probably better off just leaving, because you're not doing yourself any favors, and you're certainly not going to have a nice work-life balance, because the misery you get at work is going to infiltrate and affect your actual personal life. Or maybe some people, it's not that they hate their job. Maybe they just hate some issues with the job, or maybe they hate the amount of hours that they have to do. Um, and in which case, it might be worth obviously having a look at reducing your hours, and maybe even working from home. Some people get that flexibility now. And so we can make these small changes that might actually help us enjoy our work more, and therefore have a better work-life balance. So I think, unfortunately, what's happened is, in society, there's been this sort of expectation as to how many hours people should be working, what classes is full time, what classes is part time, and also kind of stigmas around those sort of times. So if you're a part timer, for example, people might say that in a derogatory way, think that you're lazy and things like that. And I think that all these kind of concepts need to be challenged, because some people might be great at working, say, 40 hours a week. Somebody else might do 60 hours a week and love their job. And other people might only be able to manage 20 hours, right? We are all so, so different. We have different physical capabilities, different sort of mental and emotional states, different external circumstances. Then we should all have the opportunity to do a job that we either really love or that does provide us with a work-life balance. And again, what works for one person might not work for someone else. But just having the opportunity, and obviously different countries are different as well. I've learned that America typically has about 2 weeks off a year, and many of their employees don't actually take off holidays. That just seems crazy to me. In England, you might get 3 to 4 weeks over the course of a year, maybe some bank holidays. But most people don't really get that chance to take a good chunk of time off work to relax. And what often happens is that when you do take that time off work, some jobs you go back to work and it's just piled on. No one's done it for you. So you've actually got twice as much work as what you would have had you not gone on holiday. And if you're one of those people that's thinking, that's the kind of job that I'm already in, then you're probably feeling some kind of resentment towards your job already, because it doesn't offer you a good work-life balance, because you even dread coming back after a holiday, takes away all that relaxation you've just experienced. So this is why a work-life balance, creating your own work-life balance, is incredibly important. So that kind of brings me on to kind of sharing some of my own experiences now. So, if I had to describe my working life over the course of, I don't know, 10 years, I'd have to say turbulent, really turbulent. Some people are very good. They land a job, they get on with the job, they like it, they stay there for 50 years. That's definitely not me. I've had a variety of different jobs. I've worked behind bars. I've worked for a call centre. I've been a legal assistant and a teacher. I've just had just a variety of jobs, proper mixed bag. Some of those jobs are more interim jobs, so jobs that I was having in between trying to get more of a career style job, specifically working in law. That's what I wanted to do initially. But obviously my kind of viewpoint changed, and I wanted to be a teacher. So I might talk a little bit about that, but I kind of want to just focus more on the work-life balance aspect. And what I learned from those jobs is that the jobs with less responsibility are definitely a lot more easygoing, and actually more enjoyable. And the jobs with more responsibility gave me more stress. And it's not because I didn't want to do it, or, I weren't, passionate about certain aspects of it. It's just when you've got more responsibility, the stakes are higher. Naturally, you're going to have more stress, right? You want to do a good job. And I'm the kind of person that's a little bit more of a perfectionist. So if I don't do something right, I want to make sure that I am getting it right. So certain jobs, like, I don't know, maybe working as a legal assistant or teaching, especially, I would say, is where you've got more responsibility and you want to do a really good job. So I kind of learned that some of these jobs, yes, they might be less stressful. But another thing was I wasn't satisfied in working in a job that didn't challenge me. Like I still need to have a job that challenges me. Otherwise, I'm not happy. Um, so it's a kind of fine balance to strike in having a job that doesn't cause stress, but it still challenges me. That might sound a little bit contradictory, but that's kind of like where I was at with going through my jobs. But I kind of wanted to talk more about my work life balance aspect. So, yes, the jobs that were less stressful, I had a better work life balance where I was able to feel more relaxed in my own free time, and do what I wanted to do. But there were some jobs that felt more like I didn't have any energy. Or I say some jobs, more like just one job really, teaching full time in a school. I didn't have any energy. By the time I've added up the commute and the meetings and the parents' evenings and everything else, and all the stress from the day and everything, I really just felt so shattered when I get home. And I recognised that is not a work life balance for me. Um, and I would say that teaching was actually the profession that I thought I might potentially have more of a work life balance because of the holidays. There's 13 weeks a year that teachers get off for holidays. And that sounds brilliant. It's so much better than the 3 to 4 weeks that ordinary people get in this country. But actually, what I found was that job gave me less of a work life balance. And there's far too many kind of misconceptions about teaching. Lots of people think it's a 9 till 3 job. You get all your holidays. It's great. Actually, the stress and the workload that you have whilst you're doing it, you need those breaks. And I don't just mean that lightly. Like you genuinely do. There'd be times where I would get ill during my time off because my body was literally trying to shut down and force me to rest. And that's not enjoying my life. That's not enjoying my time off. So it's not as straightforward as you get 13 weeks off a year, therefore you're going to be happy at all. So I soon learned about 3 years in that the job, full time teaching at a mainstream school, might not be sustainable for my well-being. I did kind of think, is it because I'm still quite an early career teacher? Maybe I just need to find my feet, find the right school, and it'll get easier and easier as the years go on. Um, but when I moved to a new school, and that new school was better in behaviour management, not that there were no issues, there's always issues when you're teaching teenagers, but it was like, on the whole, a calmer, better environment than my previous school. But I still felt an overwhelming sense of duty and just so much to do and feeling like I could never get on top of anything. And it was a shorter commute as well. So there were loads of pros to working in this school. Um, and I just suddenly was hit with this feeling of, I can't be here. I can't do this. It's not sustainable and there's no point in trying to fake it. So I either look at alternatives or I stick it out and I end up being miserable. So I did start to think, okay, could I do this part time? But part of the problem with working in teaching is that part time doesn't really exist. And I've spoken to other part time teachers before, and they've said that on their day off that they get, they are doing work because they have to prepare to come in the next day, or they might be marking. Um, and that just made me think, it doesn't matter whether I go part time or not, I'm still going to be doing work during my free time. And that's a massive issue. It just wasn't sitting well with me at all. And I'm, somebody who's quite organised as well. I love to get things done. I'm known for doing things really quickly. If there's like another sort of task that the team has told us all to do, I'll be the first one to do it. And that's because I'm aware of everything that needs to be done. I want to get these extra things out of the way so I can get cracking with my normal job. And this is a thing, it's just constant. So I don't want to put anyone off teaching. Absolutely not. But just really think about whether that kind of lifestyle would suit you if you were thinking of going into teaching, because it really is a lifestyle. Some jobs are like that. So I kind of obviously had that realization, look, it's not sustainable for my work, my well-being. I need a better work-life balance. Part-time would kind of be pointless because, again, I'm still going to have to work during my time off. I'm still going to have to attend meetings and do all these extra things. Um, it's just not really right. So I'm going to have to leave. I didn't want to leave teaching. I love teaching. It's amazing. I love working with young people, but I just couldn't work in a mainstream school anymore. So I had to make that bold decision last year to hand in my notice, and I'd only been there for a few months. I felt so bad, but I was doing what was right for me. And I handed in my notice. I left earlier this year. And I've had to try and find my feet by working online now. And there's pros and cons to it, but on the whole, a lot less stress. I'm not having to rush around, do this, do that. I can never go to the toilet. I can't eat my lunch. I've actually got time to slow down and do my job. And there's a lot less added stuff to do, which is incredible. So I really appreciate kind of the life that I'm creating at the moment, for, a better work-life balance. And this is why I'm really passionate about this topic. And obviously, what I've chosen to do with my life might not necessarily suit someone else. Like, there'll be plenty of teachers that feel the same way as me, but they don't want to leave because they're earning quite a decent amount of money. They've worked their way up and they don't want to leave that job, for a massive pay cut. But for me, I'd only been there for a few years. So yeah, I'm taking a pay cut, but it's not like the end of the world. I had to weigh up, do I want more money or do I want a life? And that's a question that we need to be truly asking ourselves. I think so long as we've got enough money to buy what we need, then, and hopefully have some extra, then that's fine. What really matters to me is seeing family and friends and connecting to nature and animals and just having more time to reflect on my own life. And that's why I just had to make that bold decision to leave mainstream education. And throughout lots of my different jobs as well, I realised, that I was never quite happy with people in authority. There was always something they said, something they did, and I just felt like it was a bit draconian and I was being patronised as an adult. And some people can handle that stuff really well. I'm not one of those people. I have to kind of stand up for myself. And sometimes I feel like, oh, can I really say something? Maybe I can't. But then I'm like, well, if I don't say something and nothing gets sorted, then I'm going to have to leave because I'm not happy with this situation anyway. So there has been times, where people have, been managers or people above me and they might not have really treated me well or treated me fairly in certain circumstances. And I've genuinely had to have conversations with them and it's been so stressful. And I just thought, I'd rather just be my own boss. I'd rather do my own thing than have someone telling me what to do and not even kind of caring to understand how I'm feeling. Because sometimes it was a case of well-being and it was like, the response would be, it's your job, deal with it. Um, and that doesn't sit well with me, someone just saying, it's your job though. Because it's like, I'm a human though. So that's what I think. And one thing that I noticed in a few different jobs, maybe even most of the jobs to be fair, there was always someone who had a higher position and they knew it and they made everyone else know it. And they would say things to kind of push the boundaries or be a little bit disrespectful or rude or just unsympathetic. They don't really care about what we're going through. And I've experienced that in quite a few jobs. And I always thought, is it me? Do I have high expectations? Should I just let this go? But it's really not me. And I just can't stand people kind of telling me what to do when they're not even being respectful. It doesn't matter whether you're above me or not. If you're not respectful to me, I'm not going to want to show my respect to you. I even experienced it in law, and that was one of the turning points, really, that I thought it's not really a career that I can go into if I'm going to have to be subject to this sort of treatment. Um, and I even noticed it, it was there was a barrister that was really rude to me, partner that was really rude to me, and then I heard that judges would also be quite rude as well, and not very nice to trainee solicitors and things like that. And I just thought, just because there is a hierarchy does not give people the right to be treating other people as though they don't exist, they're not human, they don't have feelings. I just think it's really cold and I don't stand for it. Like, I'm all for respecting the hierarchy, but I expect to be treated with some level of equality as a human being. And I've had some experiences that really just made me think, like, that's not going to happen in this sort of job. And if it's going to make me unhappy, then I shouldn't really be trying to get into it and getting a training contract. And I'm not saying that, all law firms are like that completely. But you're probably going to come across someone who is going to look down on you or treat you differently because you are lower than them. And it's quite frustrating, even as a young adult, you're in your early 20s. People treat you as though you're still a child. And that's something that didn't sit well with me, you know, being patronised. So there's quite a lot of, challenging aspects really about working, whether it's in a law firm or just any job where there is this hierarchy, you're an employee. And some people, work with that really well. But for me, I just found it really challenging because I'll always kind of stand up for myself. If I think someone's really taking the mick, I have to stand up for myself. It's just my kind of self respect. So that kind of, I know I've kind of like waffled on a little bit about sort of experiences there. But I think it's important to recognize what makes you happy at work and what doesn't make you happy at work. Because it's not just the job itself, it is the people that you are working with as well. So just a kind of, food for thought really, just when you're thinking about your own work-life balance. So I know that I've talked quite a bit and I want to kind of focus on some reflection questions for you to really sort of think about this carefully in your own life. So really think, do you actually feel burnt out some days? Because if you do, then ask yourself, why? Why do you feel burnt out? Is it your kids? Is it other problems? Or is it your job? Or is it a mixture of everything? Why are you burnt out if you are? Okay, really sort of just reflect on that. Because whenever there's a problem, if you can reflect, you can find a solution as well. And then, do you actually enjoy your job? Are you listening to this thinking, I really do enjoy my job? Or are you somewhere in between? Or do you really hate your job? Really think about why you like your job or why you don't like your job. What are the reasons for that? Is it the job itself? Is it the people? Is it the commute? Or do you just absolutely love everything about it? Really just reflect on that. And if there is a problem with your job, is there anything that you think you could do to actually change your situation? Could you ask to work from home? Could you ask to cut down your hours? What could you do to change the situation that you're in if you're unhappy? And lastly, what does a good work-life balance look like to you? Because we are all so different. So really think about what would be good for you. No one else, just you. So once you've kind of had a little thought and a little reflection on those questions, see if there's anything that you could do to strive to create a better work-life balance for yourself. I hope that this has been useful to you, and thank you so much for listening. Remember, stay true to you, and hopefully I'll see you soon.